Welcome to the resistant materials questionnaire section of Criterion 1. The objective for today's lesson is to understand what is required when creating a questionnaire in order to canvass the opinion of your target market. Okay, so obviously when you're designing for yourself, it's very easy. All you need to do is take into consideration your own views and your own opinions. You can make very quick decisions. However, when you're designing for a target market or for a particular client, you need to be able to understand exactly what they want from a product before you start designing, so that you're on the right track for your project. And when you're out in industry, this is a really important task to undertake, so that you don't waste time and money designing products that aren't going to meet the requirements of the target market. Okay, so what you're going to do with this task is you're going to try to understand the opinions, the views, and any important considerations that the target market or your client has in order to guide the rest of your project and your design work. Okay, now there's lots of ways that this can happen. You can write a questionnaire that you can hand out to people, and then you get those back and you analyze the results. If you've got one client rather than a whole target market, you could conduct an interview, which will be a really detailed discussion, trying to understand and really drill down into what the client wants. Another way to go is a focus group, where you would invite a group of people from your target market together and get them to discuss the project or the product in order to bounce ideas around. Okay, now this is quite a powerful way of doing things, and you'll often get lots of really good opinions and things that you haven't thought about up until this stage from your focus group. Okay, however, in this presentation, this part of the course, we're just going to look at questionnaire. Now, in no way am I telling you that it has to be a questionnaire. You could do an interview, you could do a focus group. I'm going to give you some information about questionnaire, and then you can apply the information to the other two ways of obtaining information if you want. Okay, so what type of questions then? You need to think about what information you're going to need to help you make decisions when you design. Okay, so later on in the project, you're going to need to make some decisions about size, materials, cost, etc. Those decisions aren't yours alone to make. You need to understand what the requirements are of the target market. Okay, so think about what decisions you're going to need to make later on, and try to design questions now that are going to help you gain that information before you start designing. Okay, think about questions that are going to obtain useful information. Now, lots of times I've come across in the past where students have written a questionnaire or a range of questions, and I'm sure they will make sense to the individual student, but when they're read by a third party, the information really isn't useful at all. Okay, so really kind of try to separate yourself from the questionnaire a little bit to understand what type of information you're going to be getting by asking the questions that you're asking. Okay, ask a range of questions, okay, in order to get the most information that you can in one hit. So you can use Access FM to help. So you might ask questions about aesthetics, the style or the form or the function of the product. You could ask questions that is going to give you information about the kind of cost or the amount of money that person would like to spend on the product. You might ask questions that are going to give you information on the person's view on the environment. So thinking about where the materials might come from, how they might be processed, or how they might be recycled or reused at the end. That might be important. You might want to ask some questions about that. Okay, you might want to ask some questions about function. Okay, so if you're designing, I don't know, a gadget tidy, for example, you might want to ask about what types of gadgets the person would like to include in their gadget tidy. Okay, once you've created your questionnaire, what you should do really is print one out and get somebody else to fill it out before you hand it out to lots and lots of people, because they might have some questions about the range of questions that you've asked, which would help you clarify the layout, for example, or the wording in the questions. You can use a range of open and closed questions in order to get the results that you need, and you need to aim for between 6 and 10 really good quality questions in order to get the information that you need. Okay, once you've completed your questionnaires, you need to analyze the information and comment on the impact that this information has on your project. Okay, so it looks quite daunting, looks like there's quite a lot to do, but in actual fact, it can be a very quick task. Okay, so we've mentioned already about thinking carefully about how you ask the questions. Okay, so if, for example, you were designing a coffee table, and you had to design your coffee table based on the design movement from the last 100 years, this question may not be suitable. Okay, so which is your favorite design movement? Art Deco, Art Nouveau, Scandinavian Modern, and Memphis. Okay. Now the reason it's not suitable is that the person filling in the questionnaire might not have any understanding about what Art Deco is, what Memphis looks like, okay, when Art Nouveau existed, okay, or when it was created. So you would need to give the person a little bit more information. So a better question to ask would be this one, okay, which of the design styles shown below would you like your coffee table based on? Art Deco, Scandinavian Modern, and Memphis. They can tick the relevant one and explain why, okay. Obviously there's a risk that they would fill this in and expect a coffee table designed in this style, but that's something you need to think about with your own questionnaire. Okay, so the task then. First of all, create a questionnaire or a set of interview questions that you can canvas your target market with. Add that to your PowerPoint as a blank and include an introduction to explain to the examiner or a third party looking at your folder what you're intending to do by creating this questionnaire. Okay, then you're going to conduct the questionnaire or the interview with a sample of your target market. Then you're going to analyze the results using graphs to help communicate the impact. Then write a conclusion, and then this is a nice to have just at the end. Include a few photographs of people completing your questionnaire just to prove that it was actually done and it wasn't just completed in a classroom next to a computer. Okay. Now here's an example. Now this student really packed out the pages, which is fantastic. And I'm not saying that this page is perfect, because I don't think it is, but it really is a super piece of work. Okay, so if I take a look at this A3 page, it's got an introduction. It explains to me exactly what the student is trying to achieve with the questionnaire. It's got a range of questions, really intelligent range of questions, with some examples of products. She's asked, the student has asked about materials, so she's included images of the types of materials to help the person filling in to understand. She's then analysed the results. She's photographed people filling in the questionnaire, and then she's written a nice conclusion so that we can understand, myself and the examiner can understand, how this information is going to impact on the project, how it's going to impact on specification, and how it's going to impact on the design work. Okay, so you're not going to be able to read the information on this questionnaire. That was done on purpose, obviously, so you have to come up with your own questions, but this is the kind of thing that we're looking for. If I was going to suggest some improvements to this page, I might suggest that the layout is absolutely packed, which is brilliant, but it could be delineated a little bit better so that we have a questionnaire that looks a little bit more together or coherent than it currently does. Okay, so just a box around here, for example, would clear up the layout a little bit. Okay guys, good luck. There's also a video that shows you how to create graphs on Excel, but I'm sure most of you know how to do that already. Okay guys, good luck.